Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families.
Good evening. Welcome to the program Men on Monday, where we discuss issues that affect men. And for the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about step parenting. And so today we want to look at the topic, what about the children? Because we have to think about the children and how they are affected by the new living arrangement. So it's exciting to have the men on the team. I am your host, Pastor Edison Bino, filling in for Miss Marissa Boyce. She couldn't make it this evening, but it's good to have the men, Bishop Mark, Minister Kevin Grant, Minister Sinclair Brown. Good to have the men. So who's going to start off first? Who excited to jump in and start talking about the effect of step parenting on children, even before we get there, even before the relationship is solidified? What are some of the thoughts and the feelings that you find children are experiencing?
All right, let me jump in early, sturdy Paul. The children, I said, are I want to say the victims in all of this. Many things the children don't have a voice, they don't have a say. And the dynamics can go because children don't have to decide who am I going to choose between my biological parent, step parent, this whole dynamic is very challenging for them. And some children could actually get manipulative because children can then use it for their advantages. Once again, the rules are different, the dynamics are different. Girls going into a position now where they know with this new man who was their father or trying to be their father or however that dynamic works. Same thing, the girl now has to relate to who that is, her mother or actually your mother. Boy, this man being his father, or boy being the dynamics with this person who is their mother. And then we've not added into the place where there's blended families now where other children are in the space. So these other children are not my biological siblings. I know people saying there's my brother or my sister, and this person was called him dad, and I may not be in that place where I want to embrace this whole emotional journey. But if I don't do it, I'm considered rude. If I don't consider it, I'm considered, I am not this or that. So I'm forced to do it, to be polite, to be nice. But the dynamic of having a step brother, step sister, I didn't ask for this. So I can throw that in the pot and they can leave it, and they got some more to bring. So I tossed that in the pot so we could get the soup going.
All right.
I think I drop in my little dumpling, my flour dumpling, and then we can let Kevin, handle the. I agree with what Sinclair is saying, but I think a key factor though is also the age of the children. The age of the children when this whole arrangement comes about, because I've found that if the children are young, very young children, maybe 2-3 years old. And in some cases, you find that the fathers don't really necessarily want to be part of their scenario anyhow. But if the age of the child is young enough, I think it is easier for the biological father and this new father in the scenario to have a positive influence on the child. And if they can obviously work together for the benefit of the child, then if they're young enough, the adjustments are a lot, let me not say a lot, but are easier, because they're then grow into the relationship with the stepfather. We don't like the stepfather term, but the other guy. So that is a consideration. And then I think you have to look at it from the other side. When you come into the picture, when a child is 12, 13 years old, accustomed to maybe a home where his mom or her mom and dad were together, in a situation where this whole new environment, a new home, as we discussed earlier, new rules, and you find that children at that age tend to rebel, or tend to, as Sinclair said, to try to manipulate the situation to their advantages. So I think that these are some of the things that we would have to look at: the age, and then the challenges come about when I think the stepfather wants to jump in and play a daddy one time. You know, he want to control. This is my house, and I must do this and do next. I think the mature way to do it would be to try to take his time with trying to understand the child and not trying to be the father. And let that. I find if it develops from the child's side that I want to eventually. I know I have my own biological father, but I respect you and see you as a father to me more so than a biological person. So I think that is something we can set there. My little flour dumplings that can then help Kevin to build the soup around what we are seeking to achieve tonight.
I like that. I like that. I feeling hungry. All like no, the dumpling in the pot.
I could do well with right now. I would do well with a pot of soup right now, for real. But you know, when I hear the concept of what about the children, what comes to my mind is process. The idea, the concept of process. We can never, we should never put too rigid of a time as to how and when the bonding occurs. We have to be patient. In Jamaica, they have this saying, patient man ride donkey. I don't know if they have a similar saying in Barbados, but you have to be patient, because we have to be mindful that not all of these children went into this situation knowing that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Many times they were not aware. One, they sometimes are not aware of the fact that the relationship was even breaking in the first place. So a lot of times it's new to them. So when mommy and daddy decides to separate or to get a divorce, many times they are not included in that conversation and what that's going to look like. So no, I have seen cases in which there is a break in the relationship, and within 2 months or less, the woman has moved on into another relationship. And now the children have not gotten the opportunity to even process the fact that their father is no longer with mom, but now they have to open their hearts or their space to embrace this other person who is now in their life. That's a difficult process for a child. But you know, as adults, we don't take into consideration the things that these children have to deal with mentally. And what I think we need to do as adults, first and foremost, when we're going to make this plunge, we need to put ourselves in their position, because they are thinking human beings. They're thinking, feeling human beings like we are. They might have a little bit of struggle expressing how they truly feel, but you're going to see it happening further on, you know. It acts out. They act it out in different ways. So I feel like before we even talk about merging a family together, we should look at the fact that we need to deal with, and I find it among Caribbean people. I say Caribbean people because that's majority of the people we know. Caribbean people, we don't include our children in those conversations. It's, I'm the man, I'm the woman, this is what's gonna happen. Me and your father done, me and your mother done, and me I move on, and that's it. And the child comes along with the ride because they're a part of the package, and the child has no say. We can't do that.
Yeah.
So
you know,
stir the pot a little bit and it's over. But.
Yeah, Minister Kevin, you definitely have said a lot in terms of even how the parents should respond. But even before we look at what the parents should do, both before and after, I want to lock in on the on the feelings and the thoughts of the children, because I think it's important for those listening to really understand what children are thinking. And we started talking about it. Minister Sinclair would have started talking about it. But I think we need to really explore this thing from the perspective of the child. And I like what was mentioned too, that after 2 months, it could be that the woman has moved on. And so now the child has a new daddy. So I want you to give me the perspective of the child. What's that child thinking? What's that child feeling? Bishop Mark mentioned that it depends on the age of the child. That it's easier for a younger child to probably adapt to a new home environment, right? But then you have the older children, like the teenagers. So walk me through some of the feelings and some of the thoughts that the children will have. Minister Sinclair?
Yes. The thing in as you mentioned just now, like why the children talk, it's difficult to find out what a child is thinking. We can assume because the complexions are so different. Yeah, as I said, if we were to really put a whole chart up, it get very, very complex. Yeah, and we had touched on some of those things before. And personalities of the child, one. Gender of the child, age of the child, the introduction of the child, this person, how long have you been seeing this? Because believe it or not, there's somebody get married and the child finds out a couple of weeks before, sometimes the same day. That has happened, right? Where the child has no idea what is happening. Next thing, mommy's getting married, daddy's getting married, and they don't even know where this person came from. Like seriously, there are people that will be dating, right, and have never introduced the child, and then we pull a thing on the child. As Christians, we supposed to be this or whatever, so we get married in 3 months. The child trying to figure out, so how did this dynamic move from over here to over here, and I have to know embrace it. So, and then we talk about moving to a person's house or the person moving into our space. As I said, the person bringing children. So I had a bedroom for myself. Now I gotta share my stepbrother. Like, what do you mean? like what? Right? So the child could be going through, and a lot of people figure, oh, children ain't got nothing to worry about. They ain't got a job. Like they ain't got nothing to worry about. Like children, like as a therapist, I tell people, one of the things you do, you go back to the childhood of a person, which means the issue started in childhood. So therefore, it means children go through stress. Because majority of what happens as a child. So the idea that children are not stressed out or don't have nothing to worry about, no, that is not true. So the mind of that child, more often than not, is that they don't believe they have a voice. And mainly because they don't have a voice, they normally communicate through their behavior. Because they can't say anything, so therefore I'm going to say it with my body language. I'm going to stay in my bedroom. I'm not going to come up, because then I don't have to engage with Uncle Sinclair. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? Like, I have no voice. I can't say anything. He's here. So I'm going to stay in my bedroom. I'm going to play my game in my bedroom. I'm come out. I'm going to eat. So I'm not going to be disrespectful to Uncle Sinclair. You know what I mean? But I'm going to stay out of his way so that I don't get in front of. Nobody can't say it was being rude. Nobody can say it was this, that. So I'm going to stay out this adult's way. Now, somebody try to force that relationship, but the child is going through their own dynamic. As Bishop Mark said, if the child is younger and the child is some children that want a father, some little girls or little boys, glad that this man is in the house. And like they're ready to say, Daddy, Daddy, and the man ain't ready for this. Man, like, wait a minute, pause. like the man knows he's not even ready for this. Like, how you mean, Daddy? You know what I mean? And especially the little girl, she want to jump on you. As a man, you want to protect yourself. You're going to hold a second. Don't jump on my knee. Like, hold up a second. So that little girl or little boy, can feel rejection. Once again, there's so many dynamics that the children can go through. Those I hope I touch on some of it so we can have a good idea that it is very difficult for children in this space. You understand? Rejection, abandonment, neglect. They could feel that their parents broke up because of them. Many children believe parents broke up because of something they did. Oh, I didn't pass for the secondary school, and my parents broke up. And they believe it's because they heard mommy and daddy quarreling soon after that, and they believe it is something that they did. And next thing, here comes Uncle St. Clair in his space. This is a whole dynamic altogether, right? And what I think we need to understand that, we talk mental health and therapy, and it trust me, it's going to mushroom and balloon into something even greater. And I think it's good that children are now willing to say, I need to go to a therapist. Like primary school children are saying, I want to go to a counselor, and they come into the office quite excited. I tell the other friends, like, I have a therapist. And it's like, it's almost like what was a shame before is almost like a badge of honor. Yeah, I got a therapist. And they come in and sit, they don't want me in the room, and they're ready to talk about their challenges and their issues. I do believe that we have a solution, but I don't think it's easy to find out exactly what children are thinking. But I hope that I can bring some clarity of what are the possibilities of why they can have some of the challenges that they're having.
Yeah, that's good insight right there. Bishop Mark, you were going to jump in?
Yes, what Sinclair is saying there is very, very, very true. But the children, yes, will have their own feelings and so on. They can start to feel rejected they bring rejection from, the father who's not present. They can feel rejected. Through that, they can have low self-esteem because they're probably blaming themselves. It wasn't me that did something wrong. Then they bring, I think, they can also be angry, yeah, and then display that anger at their fancy. I think also other things can come up, like they can feel depressed because the atmosphere is completely new to them or different, and all of those kind of things. So the same things that we would go through as adults at their level, they would still have some of those challenges, a time to adjust. And that's why we were saying earlier, is now the responsibility of the adults to try to make whatever transition is going to happen with the children in mind. Happen with understanding that they themselves too are suffering dislocation. They themselves too are now trying to fit into because the couple themselves will be trying to adjust. So you can imagine the children also trying now to maneuver through all the various adjustments that the couple can be seeming to want to make. And each one that come will cause each child to move a little differently because of a person's own idiosyncrasies and so on. So it is a very challenging thing, and that is where we always advocate that people plan these things well, include the children from the beginning, and seek counseling. As a matter of fact, not really necessary. Seek counseling, full stop, because it is necessary.
Yeah. Definitely. Bishop Mark, you said something there that really stuck with me, that some children will be depressed. And we don't often think of children being depressed because we think of them being happy, go easy. But there are a number of children dealing with depression. And when they have to face the situation, especially if they were prone to depression before, then the situation makes that depression even worse. And they may start to act out in different ways. And even then the parent may not understand because they might not understand what depression looks like and that type of thing. And that could be a real hard issue to deal with. But Minister Kevin, you want to jump in there? Yeah, you could go ahead and unmute. Yeah, there.
Right, unmuted. So one of the things I will say that when I was a teacher, a high school teacher, and I had several students in my class who would, what we call, act out. They would be rude, indisciplined students, we call them. But when I sat down and had conversation with those students, the ones who were misbehaving most of the times, getting into trouble, all of these things, showing signs of depression, and just seem to don't care about their education. These were students who were having issues at home. These were students who were having issues either with their mother's new boyfriend, or they're having issues with how the parenting was being done, or they felt like now their mother or their father have this new person and the children come along with the package, and so and now they don't feel that love and attention that they used to get from the biological parents, and it was a struggle. And one of the things that I would say to them, to go talk with the guidance counselor of the school. But what I find is that many times as adults, we take the position of, I'm the adult. I am doing this, whether you like it or not. And we give no voice to the children. And I hear age being thrown around as, yes, you know, the younger the child is, the better it is, or the easier the transition might be. But I also see another side to that, where even though the transition might have happened, and the child seems to accept that new parent that comes into the picture, sometimes because of the bond that they have with their biological parent, they question things. They go back and question and ask, why didn't you and mommy? Yes, they might have broken up. The relationship ended when the child was 1, child was 2. They have no recollection of this. But now that they are growing, they are now becoming curious, and they want to know who caused this relationship to end, what happened. And that's where the parent has to be mindful that you can't just say anything to that child, because you could disrupt the home by just saying the wrong thing. Oh, it's your mother who got up and left, or it's your father who got up and left. The child now turns around and blame mommy or blame daddy, and now start to cause more problems in that relationship. So I feel like, we have to be mindful, and all of us agree with this. Counseling is 100% necessary. You can't, I don't think it's, and Sinclair said it, a lot of the issues that adults have is coming from their childhood. Most counselors always want to go back to the things that happened to you while you were young. What is it that happened to you at this point, at this stage in your life, and now you're an adult, you're acting out? And that's what it is. We have to be real about it, that we as adults display behavior that impacted our lives from we were children. And so we have to be mindful of that at this age, we need to fix the issues that comes up while we are seeking to make that transition.
I want to jump in here so we can need more heat, need fire. I mentioned something there. We talk about children. There's some children, as I said, where they would actually start to, because they recognize now that the biological parent now, this parent now is trying to pay this child more attention. So by extension, because they feel guilty or they feel bad about this thing, and then the child starts to use it as a manipulative way. So there's the time when we had daddy ask you for pair Jordans. It is kind of that space where the person now recognize, I'm going to manipulate the situation. Oh, she want to be my mother? Okay, sure she know. You know what I mean? And the child starts to milk, and I'm serious, this exists. The children that recognize, oh yeah, you want to be my mother, or you want my father? All right, watch this here now. And they start to pull and pull and pull. And if you're trying to be a good person, they're just milking the situation. Some children, now we talk about where children be the victims in this space, but some children actually can make this person be a victim also. You know what I mean? Because the mother come and say, the man ain't unfair my child, or whatever the case may be. And children do this. This is like reality. This happens with biological parents, but it really stings with the step parenting situation. So you're home. Let me use Bishop Mark, because Bishop, I'm my friend. Right? So it's Bishop Mark is home with his daughter the whole day. Yes, DeAndre, you want some eating? No. But as soon as mommy come through the door, mommy ain't hungry. The first thing you're taking, like, wait. Now, with both biological parents, that could be a good You might just ask you a question, which she said she didn't want nothing. Step parenting, no. If he's the stepfather, right? And he's asked the question for a tiny biological mother coming, mommy ain't hungry. He's trying to figure out, no, ask this girl if she wants something to eat. So he's trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening here. The biological mother trying to figure out, we home and they feed my child or whatever. The man or the woman, whoever that stepchild starts to get a back foot. We can recognize, well, this child is very manipulative in this situation. Remember, it's not by biological, so I start to think differently with a stepchild because I'm thinking manipulation and a whole set of dynamics. And you'll find that when people are in step parenting situation, when they're disconnected from his child, I go back to find out what happened. And some of the little things like this, where, you know, they use a manipulative language in this space. And even come into something even more interesting. Even say more interesting is, let's say that the man is there with his stepdaughter. And I mentioned that earlier. Depending on the age of that stepdaughter now, he has to be extremely careful. Because depending on where that girl is going through too. So here is this developing teenager, and you're at home with your stepdaughter, you know what I mean, because of whatever situation now. And she accustomed walking around with bra and underwear on, because that's what she did before you came along. Now she's walking, dripping through the house as a 13, 14-year-old with an underwear and a bra on. Now that is another dynamic altogether that makes this thing real crazy. Now, if it's daddy, she does it with daddy, because, you know, daddy that my daughter, she going back for stepfather. No, as far if the penny person, I say, well, he's daddy too. He now has to work a whole set of dynamics, yeah, to make sure he doesn't find himself easily caught in a very controversial situation. Because all she has to say, mommy, I see Uncle Sinclair looking at me. We got a real serious issue right here, because mommy now has to decide between if my husband is looking at my daughter and if my daughter is not my husband. And then because of society, I choose my daughter. The man is now caught in a very weird position. So we talk about children in that dynamic, but where is this child? Is this child a child that can be more compliant with the relationship? Was the biological parent communicating properly with this child before this adventure? And likewise, there's some children, because they're teenager, because they're going through what they're going through, they now decided that I'm going to cause havoc. I cause havoc at school. I know my schoolwork. And let me just add something here to where the child decides, no, I can be disrespectful to everybody else. So what are they going to do me, right? Because step parent can't do anything about it. And every step parent try to do it. Trust me, everybody get a step parent case, be it male or female. Be it male or female. So that child, no kinds of, can easily win a war, depending on that person, not the person of that child, or what that child is feeling. And that child could actually break with marriage. That child can actually prevent, one, the people from getting married, and two, in a marriage, it can cause a lot of disharmony in that relationship. So just want to throw that fire in there, so we cook some more. The soup the boiling down, so that is something they're getting soup come back up.
Yeah, well, let me see if I can throw in a few carrots. You are so correct, but you see, again, like Kevin was saying earlier, what it also means is that, because remember, you see a lot of issues that we even have a start from childhood. So what it also means too is that the children themselves are also obviously culturalized or impacted by how the relationship was before this blended family scenario comes up. In other words, how well the family, how organized the family was or appeared to have been, because, you know, parents would try to hide stuff from kids and so on. So they would have seen this perfect marriage where all along the parents might have been having struggles and not allowing the child to be part of what is happening. So the child thinks it's moving from a perfect, all of a sudden these people, a perfect environment into this new environment. So it means how they were cultural, maybe how they would do things, how their parents, they're accustomed to their parents, maybe responding in unity, but now as you say, this man comes in and decides that I want to be the man of my house. So whatever I say here goes, whatever you accustomed to or not, before having an understanding. And again, it depends on the age of the children. A younger child would, rebel a little bit before, but initially. But if a stepfather or stepmother is wise enough, they can, bear with some of the stuff and seek to then mold that 2-year-old or 3-year-old into what the new environment is about. But if that child, like you were saying, 14, 15, start to play games, start to seek. And one of the things I'll say this to you, gentlemen. I remember there was a scenario I had where a parent brought their 13-year-old daughter to see me. And as I was talking to her, I told the parent, let me speak to the girl by herself. And here's what she said to me. She's the first child. So the mother got like 1, 2, there were 2 girls again, and she was keep trying for the boy. So there were 2 girls after this young lady. And I would ask her, so why are you think you love you? But yes, I love mom. But you know what? Why she was behaving badly? Because she said that the only time that her mother would notice her is when she give trouble. You understand? So the child in the house and looking for attention and the parent don't give it, the child then act out bad behavior at school, try to be a rebel at home, all because they are missing what we're talking about here, that camaraderie, that feeling of love and being appreciated. So you will come in, because it's the older child or the child coming into the blended relationship, 14 years old, he should be able to take care of himself. I don't need to put my hand around him. I don't need to hold, to deal with them. They're big enough, and you leave them alone, and then they realize the only way they get attention from this family, from the mother or the stepfather or even the father, is if they give trouble. That's some carrots here.
I'm listening, and I'm thinking to myself, like, sometimes we do not allow the process to just gradually happen by just being deliberate. Many of the times we're not very deliberate about how we make this transition happen for the children. And in doing so, we overlook the different possibilities of issues that can present itself. Many times I see children, especially when the blended has happened, and then there is a child that is born into that relationship. No, sometimes, because I come from a blended family. I grew up with a stepfather, very awesome man. But even in that awesomeness, as a child, when my mother gave birth to his daughter, we as children that she had before questioned, and we paid attention to whether or not this child was being treated better than we were treated. Was this child getting away with things that we wouldn't get away with? And anything that seems different from what we were used to, we were ready to put it out. Because even this day we'll say, no, that child got a better treatment than we did. Yeah. Because what I feel is that sometimes when there is a child that we call bond the relationship together, that child now has biological mother, biological father together in the home. And it's hard to not say that there is the possibility of some preferential treatment. It's hard to not say, because stepmom on the other side, stepfather on the other side, but here is a child that belongs to both of us. I feel like the possibility of giving more attention to that child exists. So here's one of the things I feel like it's necessary to happen. Date nights, time alone. So if you have if I go into a relationship having a child, I cannot forsake my child. I give my child the impression that they are on the outside. And So now I have this new family. You just have to make the adjustment, and that's it. Too bad. I feel like we need to make the process one in which the child still feels safe, one in which the child still feels love, one in which the child still feel like they have your attention. And so we as parents have to be intentional and deliberate about
Yes.
spending time with the child. So
Yeah.
the child feels like now that mommy or now that daddy has moved on and have this new family, I am on the outside. Because
Right.
that's when times they act out because they don't feel that nobody cares. They feel like, no, okay, the only time somebody talk to me, and even if it's just yelling, at least that's the only time they get to hear that other parent's voice. It can't be that we're gonna just be the person or the parent who disciplines but don't show the love and affection and the attention. Remember, a lot of times, except for the case in which the relationship started very young, if you start with a new relationship when the child is 10 years old, for argument's sake, that child would have spent 10 years having you and not worried about competition, because now it feels like competition for them. And let's be real about it. Many of us don't like to compete. We want things to happen easy for us. We don't like the competition thing. Like for me, if I see a young lady and 5-6 months trying to get her attention, I'm backing off. I'm not the competition thing. And that's how some children view it. Like they're now competing for their parents' attention. And when they get that way, it's like your back is against the wall. The only thing I can do is come out fighting, come out being mad, being angry at the world. And that's where we start having these children just becoming wayward. Just put some corn in the soup.
But let me ask this. I think Bishop, right? Pastor Kevin, you have a daughter? Yeah?
Yes.
Good. So this is good. I don't have any daughters. So gonna be throw some, let me throw some okras in this. Good. The dynamic of a daughter, I touched a little bit on that. But where a daughter now has to deal with the fact of having this stepfather in this space. Okay. You can touch a little bit on stepmothers. Because remember now if she's young. Let me ask start with young, because again, go to three dynamics. Because y'all had daughters and y'all had to deal with the dynamics. I was going through this with different people about this. I mean, if men are very honest, about this dynamic of having a daughter, it can get weird, right? So, and men can't language that because you're not a man, then people think you're being a pervert. You're not being a pervert. There are things that can be uncomfortable for some men as far as even your biological daughter is concerned. Yeah, you want to be bathing and all those different things. So we're talking about in your mindset, we're talking about children here, but let me say for the man to the child first. At what age? Just asking, y'all could tell me. Did y'all? Let me have Bishop Mark first. I'm asking. Did you bathe your own daughter? Or what age did you start bathing your daughter? Or was that a dynamic for you?
Yeah, I did not have an issue with bathing my daughter up to a certain age. But I would think more see a mother do that, but there were times when a mother couldn't, that I was very comfortable with it. As she got older though, there were certain things that I showed her and her mother what to do. I would never, when she was younger, because she couldn't do it and didn't probably understand all that. But once she got to a certain age where she knew herself kind of thing, and her mother would have already dealt with that, she would do the private parts and that kind of thing, right? But I would make sure, because children want to be at the air and walk out. So I would make sure I had no problem standing up and making sure she did the right thing. But fortunately for me, I got married, one daughter, and I got a blended problem at all. But I used to always
I start with biological first because I want to study child making.
Right. So
at what age did you? So let me ask this first. Did your wife did the majority of bathing with her, or it didn't matter? I know
it didn't matter. It didn't
Okay.
matter because, you know, it didn't matter. But as a certain age, I took the decision not because of no attraction and just that
It
I
was
felt as a
attraction,
girl,
right?
right,
As a girl, as a man,
as a
right?
girl,
So,
she needed to start to take care of herself,
and what
and
age
I
was
would
that?
tell. And she was about what? She started to think maybe 6, 7 years old. Like be it up
Oh,
to that time. I mean,
okay.
if her mother wasn't, if her mother was around, I would go with her and make sure she behaved properly.
Yeah, I
And
get you.
I would stand up for the process. But you know, when it was coming, I always felt that I wanted a boy and all of that. Let me tell you something. The best thing that happened to me as a parent is I get a girl. my daughter, my daughter loved me to fall. I mean, and I'm the disciplinarian. I'm the person who shared licks or used to, you know. But she really, even to this day, she get to know me. She says you're all right. She could tell when I'm not all right and so on. So for me, I didn't have an issue with that. However, I'll say this: if I had to get, if my wife for some reason left me or I died or something, and I had to get into a relationship with a lady, right?
Mm. Good question.
I would still
Good point. Yeah.
right, I
Uh-huh.
would still be very careful how she deal with my daughter. Maybe because you know, in terms of even if she was young, my daughter would have to be comfortable with her before I said that's a woman. She can bed or go to sleep. I can do that. I would have to get her. She would have to get comfortable with her first, right?
Right.
And
Good.
then
I like that.
if I had
I like that.
if it was the other way around, and I was a father of my daughter was going with my wife into another relationship, my cutlass would be sharpened because I can feel that the man could
Thank
possibly
you.
get interested in
Good.
my daughter. So I ain't
Right.
get toward the man, but I can have it sharpened because any foolishness, I can go and defend my child, right? So I would
And okay,
walk in and
before you
making
go,
sure
Kevin,
that circumstances, right?
I'm going for Kevin. And because last time we know we were very nice in the last couple of sessions, and going back to
Yeah,
the first
yeah, you
perspective.
got right.
But here is even although here is Uncle Singh here with Pastor Kathy,
Right.
and they found out that I bathed your daughter. How upset would you be with your wife?
Yeah,
You know,
I
she's 4 age group, whatever, 2, 3, 4.
yeah, at the child, you see, that's a title, but I would have to be very careful with that. I'm being
Right.
honest, you know, I would
Exactly.
have to,
You'll
and
be
that's
upset.
why. Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, especially if I know. I mean, you can say, well, look, you should come to me and say, well, look, we are the time now where we want to get involved with each other and so on. And tell me, but if I hear it and you don't have my permission, it'd be trouble. I think so. I'd be very honest.
Thank you,
I ain't
finally.
better born. I'd be
Okay.
very, I ain't with that. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
I don't know what
Thank
Kevin
you.
would think, but I
Yes,
honestly
I
would
like it.
want to
Good.
know. Let me
Nice.
make a decision. Okay, let me know about it
Right.
further. You got to, John or say Chris baiting her. What? No, 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 no. You
Good.
had to,
Good.
let me discuss that
Nice.
first.
Good. See, now I'm saying one of the nice. I here to give the Chris. So coming to you,
Kevin?
coming to you, Kevin. Fire. Good.
Well, yeah,
Did
go
you
ahead.
bathe your daughter? Did you bathe your daughter?
Oh yes.
Good.
I made my daughter up till the age of 8.
Yeah, around there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
My
So
my situation is a lot. I have several dynamics in my
right.
situation.
Yes.
So I have 2 daughters, not 1, 2. My first child, her mom passed away when she was 3. So I became a single parent. And so I had to do everything for
Everything.
her, which includes even putting those little bubbles and clips and stuff in her hair and
Look at
getting her
you,
ready
Daddy
for
of the year,
school.
boss.
Yes,
Nice.
yes, man. I was doing everything, you know. So I did that, and then I have another daughter, and she lives with her mother in Jamaica, right? And the dynamic with that is that I'm more of a virtual dad where she's concerned because her mom has married and all of these things, and the stepfather's been in her life from she was about probably 5 or 6, somewhere there. So for me, it is still uncomfortable. No, I've never had a conversation with the mother to say, oh, I would want to think that she would not allow that because she's probably just as protective as I am, right? But I still, my daughter now is 13, the one who lives in Jamaica. She's 13. And one of the things that I am very concerned about is, like you say, she's going through puberty. All of these changes has happened in her body and is happening, and she is now taking on shape and curves and all of these things. And one of the things that goes through my head all the time is that that's my baby girl. I might not be there, but she's my baby girl. And we have to be realistic. At the same time, we want to see the best in everybody. And you're hoping that this man is a good man. But we have to be realistic too, that a lot of the time, sorry to say, abuse and molestation and these things happen from stepfather or boyfriend, or even some, come on, if it's happening with biological fathers, moreover.
Thank you.
What says a stepfather, uncle, the stepfather cousin, the stepfather brother, these people come around because now that the family is blended, you have an extended family. So this stepfather has a brother who might come and sleep over, or he might have a cousin who comes, and your child is exposed to all of this. So for me, it's always the need to have a conversation with my daughter as well as with the mother. Like, how, I'm all about safety. You better make sure that my daughter is good.
There you go. I like it. You see, like what I said is quite last things. Everybody are very nice and talking about respect the man in his face. But when it comes to the reality of this thing, disrespecting the man by the end of the day is, and we talk the mother too. We have to. That was my thing when it comes to step parenting. It takes time to build trust. You know what I'm saying to you? And I think, especially maybe we use Kevin, where your daughter is developing, she's transitioning, and I'm now coming in space. Even if mommy was dating me for 3-4 years, whatever the case may be. Some people, Christians, we want to get married quick because we want to have legal sex. So we have a dating period that's a lot shorter. So I'm into this space now, and now your daughter is developing in that space too. So I'm just saying the daughter now has a challenge because now she, the dynamic of being being comfortable with my biological father, that I could feel comfortable. My dad beat me at 6, 7, 8. You know what I'm saying? Is that now I gotta be hiding from this man who's my father. You understand the dynamic? It shifts the dynamic even further, because before, even with my biological father, I could feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying to you? I'm not saying you can walk anyhow, but I can have more of a comfort level. You know what I mean? However, when it comes to the step parenting position, she's now have to be more apprehensive about it. Remember, she's developing, and know this man that's with my father. So it depending, house now has 1 bathroom. We got a problem. You know what I'm saying to you? Because how we share this bathroom and what are the bathroom etiquette. So the child is very challenged. Now the child is locking the door, and rightfully so. You know what I'm saying to you? Depending where this man is at, he can feel offended. Because if he's not developed as a person, he gets sensitive to the fact that the girl hiding from him, and she should. You know what I'm saying to you? Because the end of the day, she's developing. Is if I'm raised my biological father, and I can walk him with my bra, my underwear, whatever the case be. That ain't give. He don't care. It's my daughter. Even some fathers are gonna be careful, but most often, the fathers are decent. But here's the stepfather. We don't know where he came from and what is his positioning. So one of the things I want to leave is that fathers, in this particular sense, Men on Monday, in a female's case, if you have a child who is a female, depending on the dynamic she's in, you have to be careful. You can't be offended that you're careful. At the same time, you still have to give unconditional love. Because let's say the girl comes and says she want to call you dad. You know what I mean? If you're married to the mother, you should be able to embrace that. Because you should have gone in knowing that you're going into fatherhood. You know what I'm saying? So you shouldn't be like, oh, I that too soon for me. What did you expect? Because you're going in there as a father. So, you can't admit too soon than what you thought was happening. Likewise, that daughter may not have seen you in the father space, and she may, depending personality, that child might be more retreat. Can you be more respectful of spaces so that she can feel comfortable? It may take time because she may be kitchen, you come in the kitchen, she leaves the kitchen. Because the kitchen could be kind of closed offish, and if you know what I mean, it could feel boxed in. So some people can feel like, you're invading my space. And it's nothing I'm saying, but, sorry, excuse me, until those walls have dropped, that the person recognizes you have been around me. I've never felt any strangeness from you as a man, and therefore I can relax around you because I recognize you're a decent human being. So that's what kind of went there, because I know the soup get a little, they want to get cold. But those are the reality, though. The reality of it, though, is that children have a lot of challenges, and this is one of them, many. But it's one girls, children can have, because bring this male energy into the space that I'm unfamiliar with, that I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And it can make a girl feel very uncomfortable because nobody considered her feelings and her privacy and her emotional development in this relationship.
And that is so true, because if we're honest, a lot of women or the girls are going to go into women, and we know that it's highly emotional. It's highly based on how you make them feel, and how they feel is going to affect how they think. So we have to be mindful of that. That as step parenting are best. We can always go back and say it is really not for the faint of heart, because it is one of the most challenging lifestyle to live. It is one of the most challenging, and not only is it the one of the most challenging, but a lot of times we give less attention to it because many times we think it's going to work and operate as a marriage where a man and a woman alone come together and there is no children attached. And so I love him, he loves me, and we're going to make this work, and that is it. It's a total different thing. And so I feel for us, we have to be deliberate about pushing that agenda for counseling. And counseling cannot be just, sometimes people go to counseling 2-3 times and they say, oh, but we go counseling, man. We go counseling, everything all right. That's not counseling. That's introduction. That's the reality. That's not counseling. So the counselor right there is just trying to get to know your name and trying to feed your energy. That's not counseling. You see, one of the things that we run the risk of doing is, and Sinclair said it, how we might end up being that parent, the child manipulates, and we end up buying Jordans, we're buying all of these things to soothe the child, to pacify the child. If we're not careful, we spend a lot of money trying to pacify that child, while if we had invested that same amount of money into counseling, or even less, into counseling from the get-go, we wouldn't have to be dealing with all of those things. So I feel like and for those who are watching or those who are listening, if you're planning to get into a blended family, listen, man, start getting counseling. Be deliberate about getting counseling for yourself and for the children, because it's not a bed of roses.
Yes, we're coming down to winding down. Wade Boyce, he said, and honestly, Wade, I'm going to talk to the producers and honestly think you'll be the ideal guy to invite into this program. We talk about step parenting. This man is a step parenting guy of all guys. He says, as a man, is able to watch your daughter grow in a home with a stepfather. What I have done is to have a good working relationship with the stepdads I have encountered with my daughter. When the stepdads came, and when you recognize it said plural, stepdads came along, in my case, I was having conversations with my daughter about her developing sexual relation to stepdads. So far, so good. And Wade, I know you because you're a very open guy. This is what the step parenting guys I told you about, where we talking about family of 7, right? Blended family 7, 3, and then combine him and his wife have 1 together. And if you listen to their story in the relation to their children's the extended family and the step parenting and everybody taking up each other, it is like almost like watching in a movie. So he is like the guy to bring on this program when you talk about the complexions, the complexities of step parenting and doing it successfully. I mean,
we should invite him on for next week. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, he's very much, he is, I said, it is very blended. We don't blend it. You think I blended? He got me look soft. He blended. He blended. And one of the last things but we want to touch as we close off, how much should the child be involved, or should the child have a say in relation to this relationship going forward? What say y'all? Do you think that a child, or how much weight should be placed on a child, or child should have weight at all?
All right, I would jump in first. It depends on what you mean by having a say, because what I think should happen is that the parents must recognize that the child must be involved. Because when I say have a say, a child can't walk relation and say, well, I like he, all right, but
let me answer this, Bishop Mark. Okay, sorry, I know you mentioned something quite interesting. Some parents think that if the child don't like this person, then we can't move forward.
They got right.
With that.
Right. That is why I made the point when you said that a child should have a say. We are adults. A child has to still take its place. But what I will say is that the child should be involved in the process. But in other words, we are courting, and I have a child. The man I courting, if I'm the woman or the woman I courting, have to understand my child has to be part of the process. If we have differences of opinion as we talk about the whole night, we gotta get a referee. We got to do some counseling, and that must involve the child. You must be able to find out how the child feels, have an appreciation for what the child is going through. But for a child to call, Mommy, I like he, you would find, you persevere, that child will come back to you later if it is dealt with rightly, right? If it is dealt with correctly, would say, I really like John, or he's so, I didn't realize he was so nice. So not have a say, but it must be understood that the child have a place, let me put it that way, within the thing. And I know our time is going on, so I will stop there for now. Yeah, Kevin.
And I'll just quickly say that what we should always have the child in mind.
Yes.
We can't really give kids, we give them a voice, but in terms of choosing who you love, you can't, your child can't have that weight on them. That's not their responsibility. You know, so we choose, but we also give ourselves enough time to get to know each other. So, and have those necessary picture. The man and woman must or should spend the time in getting to know each other. So you can actually starting to tell if this man or this woman is going to be good for you, and hence will be good for your child, because you have your child in mind as you process this relationship, right? So that's how I see it. So when after you've done all of these things, you bring the child in, when you feel secure or comfortable enough that this is going in that direction, you bring the child in and make the introduction, and then start that, and then continue that process.
So we're coming on to the end. I think we've had a really good show. As I said, I would love Wade, I will speak to Marissa and see if we get Wade. So Wade, that's my invitation. If I would tell you if it's positive or negative, but we will be looking next week to be a close off this. We can be really exhausted, but we want to touch all the areas in relation to this step parenting thing, because it's not usually spoken about, and we really want to take hold of it. And we spoke about, all right, so we will go on the 31st, which will be next week. And we will got children and their new partner on building in new relationship areas to note. We got helpful pointers of how we're going to be doing this. The healthy. So all the tips of doing this in the healthy, we point out all the challenges. We talk about from the men perspective, the children's perspective. Now, if we were to do this the right ways, so we take from the persons that they had the mother and father children together, because we're going to take from tips from them, because that is the ideal position. We'll then also add in also looking at the blended family, things to draw from the persons that were together as a unit, and then what other strategies had to put in place. And hopefully, if we really pushing for Mr. Wade to be here, if he can, and everyone is good with that, we also see what he did. Trust me, I'm telling you, is jaw-dropping to hear a dynamic that is healthy in step parenting and at that number. So I look forward to next week, all of us being here. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Pastor Brian Clouder, for doing the productions in the background. Pastor Bino, who started hosting. Minister Kevin, Pastor Kevin, salutes to you. Bishop Mark Haywood. My name is Sinclair Brown. Thank you. This is Men on Monday. Look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same channel. Blessings. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families.